and why do I start filming a documentary? I think the beginning is really an idea, an attraction of some sort. Maybe it's a compulsion, something that I have to do. But for instance, I can give you an example. I've always wanted to do a film about the Holocaust, something to do with the Holocaust. You know what I mean by the Holocaust? Yeah. And at the time, this was 20 years ago, I happened to be talking to my barber. That was back in the days when I had more hair. And he told me he'd been in the Warsaw Ghetto. And so I got talking with him about that. And that led me to a woman who had been the youngest prisoner in Auschwitz, in the women's prison of Auschwitz. So I think that film started from a long, long desire, almost a sense of duty or obligation to touch that darkest part of human history. So I think the beginning of any film is some kind of compulsion, some kind of sense that there is something that you need to do, and this may be the opportunity to do it. Filming is always constrained by necessity. There are only certain things you can do with this person. My Fritzi, my Holocaust survivor, she had not talked for 40 years. She said nothing for 40 years. She said, I'll talk to children, but I won't talk to adults. You can't change adults. So she started going to schools, and this was about the time when I'd got her permission to start filming. So that's what we made the film about. How did it change me? I think I found the editing of the film very sad. A number of times I just stopped the machine and wept. So it changed me in the sense that I felt that her experience was in some way my experience. I felt responsible for it. I didn't feel I had experienced it, but I felt responsible for her experience. I felt responsible for making it accessible to other people. I gave the copyright of the film to her son, and he didn't use the film. She didn't use the film. She used the film to tell her children, her son and her husband, what had happened to her. She'd never told them what had happened to her before. And she used the film. As soon as the film was in finished state, she said, can I take it? Can I take it to show my... So my film became her way of telling her children what had happened to her. So that was very, very satisfying. I was glad that it was on record. Whether it was used or not now, in the future it will become more valuable. And I made a lot of oral history films, and I always felt that they would be seen at the time, and then they would be rediscovered in 50 years' time, 100 years' time, when we're all dead. These films will live when other films are just part of their moment. My first film was about a girl leaving England, young girl leaving England to go and be an au pair. She went to France, to Paris, and that was a sort of... my father was born in Paris. It was a sort of a return journey for me, putting on record my love and my love affair with Paris, I suppose. And I could see it through her eyes. What does it take for someone to be a good documentary filmmaker? I think emotional openness, curiosity, a willingness to pursue ideas and truth, and to look inside people and to put ideas together. It takes, I think, a sense of responsibility to history, meaning you and I are alive at this moment in this beautiful garden, but we're privileged to be conscious and to have the opportunity to leave a record of how people think and feel at this moment. Who knows, in a week's time an atomic bomb may go off and the whole world change. You know, and this would be like one of the last records before the bomb. So that we're always in that moment in history where things are in a certain balance, and it is our job to be conscious of them and to be able to say something, to leave a record about our thinking and what we thinking about, what we feel, what our concerns are. What are the ethics of filmmaking, of documentary filmmaking? I think they're a bit like medical ethics. Do no harm. Don't harm the patient. Don't damage the situation that you're supposed to be documenting. Don't make things worse. Merely by making a record of someone's life, you can help them and you can make their life better. And I think I did that with Fritzi. I think that it was always very. She was very ambiguous about having the film made, and yet when I once said, "Well, should we stop? Should we stop filming?" And she said, "What time are you coming tomorrow?" Is documentary a reflection of reality or a construction of reality? I don't think there's any such thing as a reflection, really, because there's no. A mirror is a mechanical thing and it sends back the light rays that hit it, but a camera with its lens and the people behind the camera, all of those things make everything subjective. Everything is being gathered subjectively. All the decisions have been made subjectively. So as soon as you turn a camera on, there's a human mind associated with it. So it is a construction. It's a construction. A documentary is a construction of reality. You know, I think we're always acting. We're always actors. I'm in relationship to you, Ronald, behind the camera. I'm looking at you now. So what is being, if it was someone else, if it was President Obama, or it was one of the African, the leader of the Lord's Army, who's massacred I don't know how many people, my relationship to each of those people would be quite different from my relationship to you. So that your mere presence behind the camera begins a process that is personal and subjective. People do a lot of manipulating for television because there's an audience. They're measuring audiences, they're measuring audience response. Documentary makers are almost never in that situation. It's a much longer operation. It doesn't have any great rewards, great money attached to it. No money at all, usually. So I think that the ethics of documentary aren't in that area. I think they belong with the ethics of personal relationship. I know exactly what you mean, that people alter the tone of their account, or they sometimes alter the facts of their account to project a certain image of themselves. You know, the audience can always tell when that's happening, and that is the reality of that person. That person wants to manipulate, wants to gild their image, wants to make themselves more important or more wise in particular situations. So you sense that. You know, somebody once said, you know, when you turn the camera on, doesn't that change people? And you have to say, yes, it does, but it doesn't change them, it just brings out another aspect of them. It's all them.
It's like when people are drunk, you know.
Yeah, when you're drunk, exactly, that's what happens. Yes, something comes out, but it's always been in there, and it's always a part of your nature. It's not a different person drunk. They say, in vino veritas, in Latin, in wine, truth. Can documentary change people? Can it do work in society? Can can it be, quote, important? Or is it just something that you have to do? Certain people, just as certain people have to paint. I mean, no one claims that painting can change the world anymore. They did at one time. Can a documentary change the world, or make a change in society? I think that any artwork is capable of affecting a large number of people. I think that society changes because in the way that a rock changes that has water dropping on it. If enough drops of water fall on the rock is changed. And I think society is like that. And I think we're one of the drips. Documentary is quite a powerful drip, changing the way, not the way people see so much as, or change the facts that they know, it changes the way they feel. And that's why you only remember what you feel. People can pour facts all over you, it's gone. But if you feel a powerful sense of kinship with somebody who's suffering, or somebody who's trying to do something, you feel that you want to work with them and help them, that feeling remains with you. And that vision of the world they live in, and the obstacles they're trying to overcome, all those things remain, and that I think is what changes the world. You're changing individual hearts and minds. How do you distinguish between the TV report, the magazine item in a magazine program, and a documentary? I think that the documentary, well, first of all, non-fiction filmmaking is a corner of nature, like we have behind me, seen through a temperament. Ronald is the temperament behind the camera who's nodding to me. I'm part of the corner of nature. He's asking me some very important questions. So that the beginning of documentary, I think, is looking at the world, looking at some aspect of the world with a sense of feeling and a sense of purpose. And that the feeling and the purpose add together into a vision of the state of, into a vision of the human condition, some aspect of the human condition. I would say that most television work doesn't think on that large scale. It's very concerned just with parochial matters. The documentary has a larger purpose. It's just a question of purpose. I think the means are the same, but the purpose is perhaps larger, and therefore the means to reach the purpose are more disciplined and have less of the moment in them. Okay, thanks. Bye.